This is not a Backrooms video, but it could be. What I have here is a very, very low-end dash cam that is in the process, as I'm using it now, giving me signals that it's going to die sooner rather than later. I got it used very cheaply at a second-hand store, and frankly, I overpaid because this thing is a spectacular piece of junk. With that said, it has some pretty fantastic properties that make it interesting in one very, very narrow window. And that comes down to the fact that it has absolutely crap video quality. It purports to be 1080p, and it might even be, but it's 1080p as via a sensor from a webcam from the year 2003. It has spectacular shutter lag. Like, I have never seen a body produce quite as much shutter lag as this thing has outside of some very old camcorders. And it has a really bad microphone. Keep in mind that microphones are not super important for the purposes of dash cams, but this one has one, and it's quite bad. And, if I'm not mistaken, it has an audible hum in the background. Now, to be fair, last time I tested that hum, it was when this was plugged into my car, oddly enough, it being a dash cam. And what I may have been hearing was, in fact, noise from the alternator and voltage regulator in my car, and not what I'm doing now, which is where I have it plugged straight into a battery pack. Speaking of, this thing has a battery pack connected to it because its own internal battery is garbage. It has almost enough juice to run while you turn the car on, and that's basically it. As I mentioned, this camera is bad, and the significance is not that it is so. There's certainly no shortage of bad cameras out there, but how it is bad. Significantly, it has some pseudo-analog qualities to it, and it's saying something because it's not an analog device. It's a real crap digital one. It has some general noise and weird artifacts to it. What I strongly suspect is that this started life as an SD device, and then the factory that made it upgraded it to 1080p, and I put that in sneer quotes, at a later date. And that would come across in the fact that the videos it produces are just absolute garbage. What it reminds me of is the very intentionally bad aesthetic that is featured in a lot of Backrooms videos, particularly the before part of a Backrooms trope where a person is walking around with their camcorder and saying, "Hey guys, look at this thing I discovered." And next thing you know, they fall through the floor and they're in the Backrooms. As I said, this is not a Backrooms video. There is not going to be cut to CGI or something similar, where I'm now in a abandoned office space with repeating weird floor patterns, strange yellow wallpaper, and acres of the most awful industrial carpeting you've ever seen. I'm very much rooted in what passes for reality. But I have noted that this camera really looks like the before footage of the Backrooms, and I went through considerable effort to get the goddamn thing to work. Because, as I mentioned, its battery is hot garbage. It is barely holding together as a physical unit. I'm actually clamping the battery compartment down with my hand as I shoot this, and it being a dash cam, it's actually oriented upside down. I'm having to hold it up in the air, and the viewfinder, such that it is hanging down, as you would want that type of form factor in a car, but I gotta tell you, it is absolute shit for being an actual camera when you're out and about in the world. Also, I should add, I have no idea if anything I'm doing right now is going to work, because on several occasions I have shot some content, if you will. Not that I'm a content producer, but I have recorded some video with this thing, and then when I slip the memory card into another device, it's either corrupt or there's nothing there. So this is all a crapshoot, but that's kind of the nature of what makes this such a crap camera. In addition to that, one of the things I do really like about this, I mentioned the battery is terrible. The significant thing about that is that there is a constant, what is it? I can't even read the date, but there is one that is, because I should mention. The viewfinder on this is absolutely tiny, and the text is even small on that. Now, my eyes aren't the best, but even a person who is well-sighted would have some trouble reading the copious amounts of metadata that's flashing on here and trying to make sense of any of it. Perhaps Ted Williams could, but he was one of the best-sighted people ever to walk the planet. So for mere normies, never mind people half-blind like myself, this thing is a lesson in pain to actually do anything with. The date on it actually is 2016. I have now put on my reading glasses so I can actually see the date. And it thinks it is January 1st, 2016 at 9 minutes after midnight, which obviously it is here. Guys, welcome to 2016. Real excited about this year. We got a neat presidential election coming up. Everything is kind of neat and really cool, and in no way is everything about to go to shit. I assure you of that. Also, I'm a liar. A staple of Backrooms videos is that the person who is about to clip into the Backrooms walks around while shooting, and I have notably not been doing that for a variety of reasons. As I mentioned, the microphone is absolutely terrible, and if I start taking steps and crunching through the woods where I am now, it's not really woods, but it's a wooded area, I have a distinct concern that my footsteps are going to be louder than I am, and that's saying something because I'm not a quiet individual. But also there's crazy amounts of camera shake, which is something that is part of the trope of Backrooms videos, but the significance is, of course, it's not real camera shake because it's all done with renders, though some of it may actually be done live. But it's kept minimal because the truth is, viewers, I want to be technical here, fucking hate it when you bounce the camera around, and that's for very good reason. And it's because this is such a small sensor and certainly not image stabilized, everything shapes like an absolute bastard when I start walking. Also, there's a noisy as hell road right there, and I know that is going to be louder than anything I'm doing. So in this faux Backrooms video, I am not going to do the trope of moving the camera around any more than I have to, at least while I'm moving. As I said, this is not a Backrooms video. It is, in fact, nothing more than a demonstration of a particularly crap 100% Chinesium Dashcam from, I'm guessing with the date of 2016, that's when it was manufactured. And keep in mind, I have no control over the way this thing works. I have no exposure controls. It's showing me what I assume is saying that it has daylight white balance, which is you would expect. I have not dug into the controls too much to find out if I can adjust the white balance. What I remember when I used this in my car quite some time ago, it was late winter, was that everything had a weird brown cast to it, and I was not able to adjust that at all. If I'm not mistaken, this thing might have a still picture mode, which is frankly a sad joke. I just spent considerable time going through the menu, and it is, I don't want to call it an Orwellian nightmare. It is a poorly translated Chinesium nightmare. It kind of feels like a device I might have used 20 years ago that I bought on sale at Radio Shack. It's that level. Which is pretty sad because this thing isn't even 10 years old yet, and well, I think it might even be worse than something Radio Shack would. You see, if I adjust it just right, I don't know what the final video is going to look like, but I'm getting absolutely kooky white balance changes, which tells me it's not a fixed white balance. It's working in real time to figure out what the balance should be. Also, we're not even going to talk about its exposure compensation, but that's okay. I'm expecting, or coming from the perspective of someone who operates with professional or semi-professional equipment, mostly still frame, but I have some experience with video as well. And what I'm using here is something that has the build quality of a child's toy and the image quality of a half-remembered nightmare from several decades ago. As I said, this is not a Backrooms video, but it could be.
So, brief post-editing coda here. Turns out to the surprise of exactly no one that this camera is a complete and total liar. Even though it says 1080p in the menu and at least one of the places when you're recording, it is in fact a device that outputs at 720p. And I strongly suspect that that output is upscaled from something internal that is maybe 480p. It might even be as low as 320p. I don't know. It's SD garbage that then upscales to HD garbage, which is 720p garbage that purports to be 1080p garbage. This really isn't a surprise, but it explains why, one of the reasons why the footage looks so spectacularly bad, which would be a significant problem if I were using this for any purpose other than making a "we're not going to the back rooms today" video.